Hi everyone, welcome to Simplicity TV. I'm Jen Pike, your host. Today is a super fun topic. It is the fourth installment of our 4-phase series, and today we are talking about your actual period. How many of you ladies have been so confused at understanding that there are 3 phases that lead into your actual period that are all part of your menstrual cycle? How many of you grew up being told that you have a period and that's it? Right? Like that is essentially, I know this now watching my kids go through health class. It's like, okay, girls, somewhere between the age of 9 and 13 or maybe a little bit older, you're going to get a period and then you can possibly get pregnant. Don't. Carry pads and tampons. It is such a lack of information and empowerment we're giving these girls. They grow up shaming their bodies. They grow up being embarrassed of their period, fearful. They're not talking about it. They're suffering in silence. Then I have women that come into my practice, 20s, 30s, 40s, into their 50s that are going into menopause who still don't know anything about their bodies. And had they known this, it's interesting because for me, if you had asked me a while ago, like, who's the woman I'm trying to talk to? I would say, oh, the woman in her 30s, 40s, and 50s. I don't feel that way anymore. I now feel like if I want to get to a place where if I'm really honest and say I want to educate people, I have to go back as far as possible and try and teach these girls and teach moms to teach their girls from as young as possible. So I don't end up having these 12, 15, and 18-year-old girls in my program in the next 10 years. I don't want that. That's actually not my goal as a business. I'm not that company that's like preying on the young girls with the heavy periods and the horrible breast tenderness and the mood swings and thinking, oh yay, one day they're going to be a client. I never want them to have to come to see me other than learning in the first place what they should know about their body. So that's where this begins. In going back and understanding the first, second, and third phase, the follicular, ovulatory, and luteal, this now sets you up for a healthy menstrual cycle. You don't get your period on day 1 and then try to do the things in your period to help your period. It's the build-up, right? It's leading into it. And the bonus for those of you that are in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond is that when you can understand the cycles, even the cycles that maybe you don't have anymore that you used to have, you can develop this level of compassion and awareness in your body. You can tap into the lunar cycles and now know that you are not meant to show up at 100% of your potential every single day of the month. And that if you do that, you will burn out, you will phase yourself out, you will be cranky, and life will not be enjoyable. And we have this mentality that you have to work hard and hustle hard now, that you can do all of the thing with the intensity when you're younger now and you can sleep later. That's absolute BS. Absolute BS. And I guarantee you, if that's the mentality you have, horrible periods, horrible hormonal issues overall, thyroid issues, lack of sleep, no sex drive, and really a lack of joy. So when you come into your cycles moving forward from learning about this, I want you to embrace it. I want your first day of your cycle to be like, I'm excited that it's come. I'm now gonna track it in my period tracker. And we've listed them up. And if you haven't watched my cycle Syncing and Fertility Awareness Masterclass, I talk about a lot of them there. So we've linked it up below. Day 1. Day 1 is you actually start to bleed. It is not brown. It is not light pink. You start with full red, okay? If you have the brown is old oxidized blood from the last cycle that is now showing up with that initial shedding, that lining of the uterus. And this is what all 3 phases have been working up to, building a healthy, rich uterine lining. That when we get to the point where our body is ready to have that hormonal drop, which signals the lining to shed, we should be greeted on day 1 of our cycle with a healthy, bright red flow. Now that red flow, if you're seeing like purple in it, deep dark clots, you're actually seeing chunks of tissue, which is that uterine lining coming out, you need to take note of this. You need to make sure, like, are you up to date on your pap smears? Have you gone into your doctor for your regular checkup? Are you working with somebody who can help you understand what could potentially be going on? Are you getting full blood work done? If you had a Dutch hormone test done? It's gonna tell you a lot about what's actually going on. And then that way of the bright red is probably going to stay that way for probably your first 2 to 3 days, the heavier cycle. You probably will require an organic tampon and an organic panty liner to be changed a few times throughout the day, or a menstrual cup to be checked and dumped. I like the menstrual cups because you can see. literally what your cycle is made up of in the cup, and then when you dump it into the toilet. But then moving into day 3 and day 4, this is when you're gonna see this waning off. You're going to see the flow start to decrease. You're now gonna see the changes of color going from the bright red to a little bit deeper to more of a brownie, and then as the days continue on, that brown until it's more so like a spotting, and then it's gone. Now, a healthy menstrual cycle can be anywhere from 3 to 6 days long, sometimes 7. The cycles where women say to me, I feel like I get my whole period in 2 days and then it's literally gone, that's not fantastic. We want to have a little bit longevity there. We want to make sure that we're fully releasing that lining. And my concern is that if it goes to 2 full days of intense flow, none of the brown and none of the releasing, that you're probably gonna see some of that brown and residual come back in the next cycle. And it's important to understand that not only are the last 3 phases creating this month's menstrual cycle, your last 3 months are creating this menstrual cycle. Because if you remember from phase 1 education, 90 to 100 days is the follicular cycle to ripen. So the life you're living for those few months is what's leading into that follicular phase, into the egg that's being chosen for ovulation, setting you up for the luteal phase, and then your menstruation. So this is why, ladies, you can have a couple of months where you feel like you have a good cycle, and then all of a sudden you get a period where you're like, why is it like this? You don't have to ask yourself, what were you doing yesterday or last week? You have to look back. What's your stress been like the last couple of months? What has your sleep been like? What has your diet been like? Have you been taking your supplements? What's your exercise been like? And that is really what's gonna explain more so of what's going on. And those are the things like I would ask you as a practitioner. When did these changes start to happen? Let's go back in time and pinpoint when you started to notice a lot of this shifting for you. Now, as you get towards the end of your menstrual cycle, you're tracking this the whole time. Any of your symptoms, whether it's backache, acne, headaches, because all the things you track, we can then start to measure and we can graph over time. And then when you go to a practitioner for some assistance, we're able to look back like this storybook of your menstrual cycle, and we're really painting the picture for the areas that need more of our focus and our attention for balance, and some that we can kind of take our foot off the gas pedal. So it's super enlightening. And your period is really that celebration, but this is a time energetically where you are pulling back. This is not a time to be, like, full disclosure, I will tell you the last few years, I feel like every day we're filming, I'm like, oh, of course I'm on my period. And it's interesting how it happens because we are at our most heightened, creative period of time when we have our menstrual cycle. We are full of ideas. We are full of all the things, all the wants, but our body, our physical body is not there. Our physical body, our soul wants us to incubate, wants us to hibernate. It wants us to drink tea and watch TV and to just relax and maybe sit outside in the sun and some nature. And it wants to be quiet. It wants to do the inside work of that big release that's happening. Because you're not just releasing uterine tissue. You are releasing the last few phases of what you've been dealing with, what you've been processing, what's been going on, things you've literally needed to shed. And that's a powerful part of our cycles that I do not think gets talked about enough. And so I really want you to understand there's the physical part that's happening every month and every phase, but there's the mental emotional part. And that's that energetic side that you have to really respect. So, you know, even I am still learning as I look future forecasting into my cycles, coming into new projects and things that we're doing. I'm like, I need to get wiser about this and not just try to push through because I'm excited about what we're creating or I'm excited about what might come of it. I have to understand that in that moment when I'm trying to produce and I'm trying to stay on target, there's a bigger voice in my body that is like, girl, why isn't your head on these pillows? Like, why are you sitting upright and not lying down? And so you have to start to pay attention to those same things as well. Exercise this time of the month. This is, honestly, I would say to you, if you can, just walk, maybe do some yoga, but for those first 2 to 3 days, keep your body in motion, stretch, use your yoga tune-up balls, maybe do some light foam rolling, book yourself a massage, go for an adjustment. Like, think of that being your body work. I personally and professionally, and again, this is my opinion, would not recommend doing anything higher intensity on the 2 days leading into your cycle and the first, like I'd say there's a 5-day period of time where I wouldn't personally go and do a CrossFit class. I wouldn't be doing a heavy lifting day. I wouldn't be doing spin. I wouldn't be doing any of those things. That's just not the period of time. You're going to interfere with a lot of physiological and chemistry mechanisms for your hormones, and it'll impede your performance. Those are not the days to be setting your PR. And here's the other thing I'll tell you, and I've seen this in my own body and other women. When you give yourself the appropriate rest every single month, guess what you create when you go back into that follicular phase and the ovulatory with higher energy? It's where you see the gains. It's where you feel it. It's where you're more likely to stay committed to the health goals that you're setting for yourself. So, you know, all of these different phases, they have a purpose. There's a reason for them. And from a nutritional perspective, menstruation, just go easy on yourself. This is where you want to do smoothies, soups, sautés, elixirs. This is a lot of the time where I do more fasting. I just don't, my body has enough work to do. I give it the hydration, I give it enough nutrients that it needs, but I don't bombard it by saying, hey, I know you're shedding the lining, the walls of my uterus right now, doing this massive release and then preparing for a whole new phase, but could you also break down 2,000 extra calories today and like work on all of this? Like, your body is just like, girl, are you kidding me? That is not the priority. So to honor your digestion, help with your elimination, just decrease the flow of what's coming in terms of solid food. This is that time to embrace more of the intermittent fasting, the liquids, the soft stuff, the warming foods, the spices, all of those things that you just innately know, like, what's your comfort food? I know you think it's Doritos. It's not. I know you think it is. Your body's looking for something else. So just start to kind of carve out that path to figure out what it is. And then the other thing I would say is the products you're using right now, so important. Please stop using commercial non-organic tampons and pads. This is companies like Always, OB, Tampax. You want to be using good quality companies where it's non-genetically modified cotton. They're free of bleach and any dioxins that are gonna off-gas in your actual vaginal area, your cervix, and up into your uterus. This in and of itself can reduce your painful cramps, the flow of your cycle. So use NatraCare. There's also Organics with an X. There's Natty is another company. There's a whole bunch of different types of menstrual cups. I really like the Diva cup and the Athena cup. There's different sizes as well too, so you can do that research for yourself. But these are the things that cost us pennies of a difference, but make a massive difference in terms of your whole health care. And that brings your 4-phase education series to a close. So a couple of different options. You go back and listen to the masterclass series where I pull this all together for you, or you can go back and listen bit by bit. And to come back to these every month when you're getting into that phase and you're trying to remember why you're trying to be more aware and make some of these changes for yourself. Any questions that you have, any comments, please drop them in this video below. Other than that, I hope you have a fantastic period and I'm wishing you well in your menstrual cycle journey and beyond. Have a great day, everyone. With more simplicity and more ease, I will see you next week.